Everybody, welcome to a new segment from Brothers in the Wild. This is called Brews with the Boys, the Untold Stories. So today we're just jumping in. We're going to talk about some hunts that we didn't get filmed, or that we didn't get enough film to really produce a good video out of, and just kind of walk through those stories that we've had throughout the last season. Yeah,
There's a lot. There's a lot.
there is a lot. So there's gonna be a few segments to this. We're going to start us off today with the story of my mule deer that I shot in October of this year.
So, I mean, this all kind of started in June for us. Probably earlier than that. Goal was to kill deer.
Yes, for sure.
You did a lot of scouting.
I definitely put my sole focus this year into deer and did not put nearly as much focus into elk, but paid off at the end of the day. I had some nervous concerns going into the rifle season because we had a
Brutal archery.
very brutal archery season.
So, what led you? Because I know where you shot the deer.
Yep.
I know that wasn't your primary. That was like your fourth or fifth spot.
Yeah.
What led you from going from where you scouted all summer long to ending up there? Because what you shot that buck on the second or third?
The 3rd of October.
Third.
Yep. So we started the archery season. We tried to get into the spot that I had spent the whole summer scouting. Had a couple bucks picked out in there that I was really looking to get a shot at. And this was actually the hunt with you. We went drive down the road and found out that the water had washed the road out. And we couldn't get back there.
There was a major rainstorm like 2 weeks before.
Yeah, so we couldn't get back there. So we ended up hunting a different area. Didn't have much luck there. And the day before I shot my deer, I took one of my good friends out to see if we could get him on a deer, and we actually made it up into that spot. The road had been repaired enough that we could get the truck up there, and it was there's full people up there. Not a lot
Pumpkin
of luck
patch.
up there. Yeah, we were seeing a lot of people up there, and not a lot of deer. We spent the whole day up there trying to find something, and saw one doe the whole day. So I was like, well, I'm not hunting here again because it's getting overrun. So I wasn't planning on going out that following day. I was planning on just kind of hanging out, getting some things done around the house. And about 1 o'clock came around, and I was bored, and I was like, I'm gonna go out for an afternoon deer hunt, and decided to just kind of pick a spot that I knew there was deer at, but I had never really been there before, and hunted it much. Chase has hunted it a little bit, and seen deer up in there. So
Well, the funny part was the first time I was in there actually hunting was opening day of archery season. I didn't see a single deer in that canyon. I glassed it for 3 hours. I didn't pick up a single deer. But I went probably 2 miles north, glassed up a really big deer, saw a couple does. So when you told me where you shot your deer, I was actually genuinely surprised.
yeah, I went into a spot that I excuse me, knew of, um, that I knew was a decent area. I wouldn't say it's like a top of the line area, but a decent area. And I was just figuring I was going to spend the afternoon glassing, kind of see what I got into. I got into there about 2:30 in the afternoon. I guess it was a little before. It was probably 1:45, 2 o'clock when I finally got into there. Started glassing up the canyon. Didn't go super far from the truck. Was about a mile and a half. Uh, Glassed up the canyon. Didn't really have much luck. Ended up seeing some moving figures that I assumed were deer a ways out, but I wasn't going to make that push late in the afternoon to try to go 2, 3, or 4 more miles to track them down. Found a spot that I was just going to set up and watch and make myself a mountain house, and started cooking a mountain house, and looked up, and at about 900 yards, I had a nice buck, and I was like, well, guess I'm not eating. Packed up the mountain house, threw it in the pack, and immediately ran down the ridge and popped up the next because he was 2 ridges beyond me, at about 800 yards. And so I went down through the creek bottom and came back up to the first ridge so that I could get a little closer shot. And I ranged him at about 300 yards and managed to get a spot where I could see him. And he stopped and took a shot, missed, and hit the boulder behind him, actually. And he didn't know where the shot came from. It was ringing around the canyon. So he actually ran closer to me, came into about 280, and I moved spots to where I could get a little bit more comfortable, got myself set up on a tree, and shot, and that was about the end of it. He jumped up in the air and started tumbling. I couldn't see him, but I was like, he tumbled. There's no way he's getting back up. And that was when the nerves set in, and that was when the bad decisions began.
I'm shaking. I just shot a big buck. He's so tall. I just tracked him down and took me a couple shots, but he just tumbled down the hill. I can't see exactly where he's laying, but he tumbled down the hill, so I don't think he got back up. I think we just got this buck. This is amazing. Well, folks, here he is. He's a big 4x3. Still got a little bit of velvet left on him. He's a gorgeous buck. He's got quite a bit of mass to him. He's quite a bit wider than his ears. So he's a neat buck. And I'm very happy about him. And we put a perfect double lung shot through him. Yeah, he didn't go anywhere. This is awesome. I'm so excited. Whew. This is amazing. Now I have the fun part of trying to pack him out about 1.5 miles through a cliff by myself. So I'm gonna be packing out in the dark, I think. But we did it. We got our deer for the season. And I'm so excited. Look at this thing.
So I feel like you're forgetting a major part of the story. The black bear.
Oh, yes. So I was sitting there and glassing up a black bear, and if I had cell service, I was going to call my roommate because he had a fall bear tag, and I was going to have him come take that bear, but didn't have service, and I walked back to the road that I walked into and still couldn't have service, and I was like, I'm not driving all the way out here for this black bear. So I ended up just kind of veering around him and letting him be.
There are some worrisomes in the pack out.
There was some worrisomes in the pack out. We were seeing a lot of bear track up in that area. My roommate had been up there bear hunting that season and had seen some bears up there. And I made the horrible decision of trying to pack him out on the side of this 45-degree angle hill and quarter him out there.
Steep.
Yeah, so the canyon's about, how was it dropped? 450 feet.
Yeah, and about 200 yards.
Yeah, it's a steep pack out in there. And I should have just drug him down to the bottom, to the river bottom, and gutted him and quartered him out down there. But I ended up doing it on the hillside and by myself with this deer having a broken back from the tumble. I started gutting about 2:45, 3 o'clock, and I think I finally started hiking back to the truck about 7:45.
Boys, we're backing out. This is probably the worst pack out of my entire life. My pack probably weighs like 150 pounds. I left 3 game bags of meat behind in a tree. And I'm walking up like a 45-degree angle. My legs are dying. I'm ready to die. But we got him.
By the time I got everything packed up and I put the meat that I wasn't going to be able to get out into the tree, kind of tried to rub my scent all over the tree because I knew there were cats in the area too. And I really was concerned that I was going to go back the next day and not have
the rest of your deer.
Not have the rest of my deer. So I ended up managing to get a hindquarter and the head out that night. Got back to the truck about 9 o'clock. Gave you a call. Gave my dad a call. Let everybody know.
I think I was driving back from elk hunting.
Yeah, you were driving back from elk hunting. Let everybody know, hey, I shot a pretty big deer. I'm heading back into town. I then proceeded to hit a deer on the road. Drive back into town.
Didn't tell me that.
I didn't kill it, but I bumped it.
A doe?
Yeah. I was up in the canyon driving that canyon road, and I wasn't going that fast because it's a pretty tight canyon road. But there were 3 of them standing in the road, and I thought they were going to move. So I hit the brakes thinking that they were going to kind of get out of the way. And she kind of got halfway out of the way. And I definitely gave her a nice love tap doing like probably 4 or 5 miles an hour. Like nothing that was going to do any damage to her. But I definitely felt the like thunk off my bumper. So then I got out to check to make sure that she was okay, make sure she wasn't laying in the ditch or something, and I was gonna have to
make a phone call.
Yeah, make a phone call and be like, I need a game warden out here to finish this thing off.
So then you and your roommate went back the next morning. You packed the rest of the buck out, right?
Yep. So I got back to the house about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Chase came over, take a look at the deer.
Good buck.
And then the next morning, we didn't worry about getting up too super early. I think we got up about 7:30 and got on the road and started the pack back in. And that was, I think, when I realized how steep of a hike it really was.
Probably going down and across the stalk, and then even coming out, you're probably still running a little bit of adrenaline.
I had so much adrenaline when I finally, because we had just such a rough archery season that I was so pumped up to be finally up with a deer. And
I think the only bucks we saw during archery season were either on private or were in landlocked public we couldn't get to.
Yep. So we had a tough time in the archery season. So I was hopped up on adrenaline, getting to it, and the pack out the next day was like, oh man, like this is I shot it in a bad spot. I don't think I'll ever shoot a deer there again unless he's an absolute monster.
However, you'll probably shoot a deer there again whenever you get a chance.
Knowing me, I'm kind of notorious for just if it's a good, if it's a decent looking deer, I just dump it,
I
and I'm
think
like,
that's
I'll
our
deal with the
motto
pack
is
out
just,
later.
just send it. Worry about the pack out after you punch the tag.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we do.
So yeah, took my roommate back in there the next day so he could help me pack out the last 3 quarters. We got hiked in there. He took his gun with him to see if that black bear was in there to see if we could dump a black bear. Although that would have made for a very long day if we would have shot a black bear.
Yeah.
But luckily got back there. Meat was untouched. Luckily in October it started to cool down enough that we didn't lose any of the meat, and we're able to get that thing packed out in a couple hours. Got it back home, and that was about all she wrote. Ended up shooting a nice 3x4 deer. Chase managed to beat me out by a little bit. His was a little bit taller and a little bit wider, but I mean, overall, we both
the same like mass wise, but it's kind of weird. Very simple, like same left side, 4-point, right side 3-point.
Just a big sword on the 3-point. Yeah, it was interesting to see the similar genetics.
And the funny part was, I shot my deer on the complete opposite side of the state.
Yeah, you're like 6-7 hours away.
Yeah,
up in the north part of the state, and I shot mine in the very south part, like 5 miles from the border.
If even that, I don't even know if it's that far.
I probably could have thrown a rock and gotten to the border. But that was a hunt that wasn't planned and ended up being a solo hunt. So I got some footage here and there, but just not enough footage to really make a good film out of it. So
couple GoPro shots,
couple embarrassing cell phone videos of me after I killed it and just being all hyped up.
Dude, that's what it's about though.
It definitely it was a learning experience for me for sure. That's the first big game animal I've ever killed by myself and had to like handle the entire process by myself.
It's not an easy task.
That was a learning experience for sure. Looking back on it, would have done some things a little bit differently just as far as quartering out and packing out, but we made it happen and ended up getting a clean 1-shot kill on it. Didn't have to track it down or anything. It died within about 20 yards where it was shot, and
there you go.
We ended up with a nice deer for the year. So that's the first story on the Brews with the boys. Stay tuned because we got a lot more. We've been in the woods quite a bit, and we've got some very fun stories to tell you guys.
Yeah, a lot of days that we didn't get footage for.
A lot of days that if we would have had footage for would have been
a lot
amazing.
Of great days that just like this whole series. Most of these hunts happen solo.
Yep. And that's the main reason we just don't have footage because
it's very difficult. I've only filmed one solo hunt, and it made it way harder to film, and also it made it harder to hunt.
Oh, for sure.
And I know me, I got one focus when I'm out there, and that's how am I going to punch whatever tag I got.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of solo hunts that we had this year that didn't get filmed or got a few shots here and there. So stay tuned. We got a bunch of stories. We filled quite a few tags this year, so
yeah,
should be a good series coming to you guys.